Hi, everybody. So I'm kind of excited. This is another board meeting you're invited to. So if you don't know Mark, you should. A lot of you I've met here are starting companies. Mark was picked as Entrepreneur of the Year with Zynga, but it wasn't his first company. It wasn't his second company. He previously taken another company public. So he's done a lot of this company stuff. He's maybe a better father than a founder, but he's a spectacular founder. And I give Mark credit for inventing consumer product management. Mark really is the person who started putting numbers into apps as a service. And today, we're going to reveal for the first time a look at what Earth.ai is doing. Nitin, Mark also, another founder secret, Mark doesn't fear having multiple CTOs in the same company. It turns out CTOs are really valuable and solve hard problems. And Nitin has been kind of overperforming in solving pretty hard problems in AI, and they're going to talk about it here. And so Mark, let's start out. This is an AI moment, but you caught the Facebook moment, you caught the social moment, you caught the service moment way back when. So what are you learning from all your other companies that you're bringing to the AI moment?
Well, I promise I'm really not trying to plug anything today, but I'm literally turning in this book tomorrow that I've been painstakingly trying to write and trying to use AI, not very successfully. I'm turning in this book tomorrow called Life at the Speed of Play, which is my lessons in product management. So I said, Bing, I owe this whole book, but the first core lesson that I got, I'll just mention two that are central to the book, and I taught this course on product management at Stanford Business School, and I really just was hopeful that the MBAs would get these two lessons by the end of the semester, and I'd say like half of them did, so that's how bad it, I don't know, either I was a bad teacher or it was not very good framework. But the first was that we have to isolate our winning instincts from our losing ideas, and that if you take your ego out of it, whatever it is your idea you're thinking about right now or working on, you have an underlying instinct that's driving that. And if you tune into the instinct and you don't get attached to how you've instantiated that, the idea, I think you change your odds of success, because your idea is probably wrong, and it's somewhere between an F and a B+, and I like to say B+ is the enemy of an A, because it's good enough to get investors and people and keep going. The second idea that goes with that is, I thought Bing made this framework up, but he says that I did. But core at Zynga was this idea that we called proven better new, of saying, okay, when you're building something, especially really in consumer apps, to really consider, get your PhD in what is already out there that is proven, that people already like, there's already heat around it, and don't touch that or reinvent it, and then say, what's better, and better isn't what you think is better, that's called new. So better is what 10 out of 10 of the existing users of that product say, fuck yeah. Like our poker game originally had no download, and statistically, we could see it was better because you lose 50% every time you ask them to click on anything. So people voted with their clicks that it was better. And then new is like the one novel idea which will fail, but it's the reason, Bing used to call it back of the box, it's the reason someone will try your product, hopefully. So anyway, those are like the...
So for the record, I said something old, something new, something improved, and you went, ooh. What you mean is proven better new. So, you know, there are multiple times in our work together where you out-copyrighted me like crazy and created car bumper sticker slogans that work. And, you know, if the Stanford students didn't get it, it has something to do with they think they're the best and the brightest before they've earned it. And now tell me about, you're in the habit of collecting great CTOs and pushing them real hard. What's the relationship with Nitin like?
I might have to let Nitin answer that. I would just say that Nitin is the kind of CTO that I work really well with because he is coding. He has his hands in the code all the time, and whatever it is I dream up and want to build, he says, yes, Mark, yes, we can build that. I just need X weeks or months, and I always say,
and then it comes in the X weeks or months, which is pretty unusual.
Yeah.
I've learned that engineers can't lie about anything but schedule.
There are a lot more things on.
So Nitin, what's your journey been like in trying to corral AI on behalf of a games platform?
So when I started working with Mark, he had this dream of building AI moddable worlds where anyone can, fuck around with anything, pardon my language. We tried really hard using traditional game engines like Unity for a while, and these engines were just not designed for it. And AI kind of put everything on, steroids. You want to do these things. You want to build agents which can execute scenarios that you had never planned for while designing the game. So we spent a year and a half trying to build a game engine on top of Unity, which could do all of these things. Failed miserably. Then a year back, we started building our own game engine using web. One of the bets we made was AI would really deliver its promise on the web. And why anything else but web? Because web is inherently moddable. Right-click, view source, change code, it reflects immediately. So for the last year, we've been building a game engine using Three.js and WebGPU to create, a decent, I wouldn't say it's the best that is out there. It's a decent, it can create decent games now. And the core innovation of this game engine is the WebGPU part of it, because not only can we create interesting games which look good to the eye, we can run compute shaders and LLMs as part of the browser. So one of the other things that I've deeply believed on is AI will truly deliver on its potential when it executes on the edge. And I think our engine will give you that opportunity to run AI on the edge. Not everything is done today. I think we're a little ways off. The other thing that Mark really pushed for, and I give this credit to him, is everything has to be reusable. So our game engine is called STEM Studio. It is based on this principle of STEMs. You can think of STEMs as reusable code with a very well-defined interface, Lego Technic bricks for games. And essentially, because it is not code that AI is dealing with, it is these interfaces. It's our own domain-specific language. We can instruct AI today to make changes in the gameplay and the game behavior. It is a lot more consistent, repeatable than someone trying to vibe code a game today.
And so
and I'll just say that I come at this 100% from an end user, total dumb fuck point of view. I do not even pretend to understand the technical side, because that would mess up my brain. And I just kept saying to Nitin, I want edit, copy, paste. Why don't I have edit, copy, paste? Why doesn't this work just like the web, like HTML? Why can't I be in a game and there's a mechanic I like, there's a cool avatar or whatever mechanic. I just want to grab that and go edit, copy, paste, and then move that over to another game. Why is everything hardwired and in the can, and it's so static? And from my point of view, when I started in games and first met Bing, and I really knew nothing about video game industry at all, but it was so boring. The game, it was much smaller, and the games were just not for me. And we had this idea with social games that there could be adults would give themselves permission to play if there was something adult, which was other adults and people. So there was something useful with your time. It wasn't this dead, static content. And for a little while, we did that. And now, even though games is 12, 15 times the size industry and many more times the number of users than it was in 2007, it's still so boring and static. I mean, in my opinion, it's just entertainment. It's just dead calories. And so we're still trying to make it dynamic and give adults permission to play, something to show for the time that you spent. And that's why I pushed Nitin so hard, just saying, we've got to make something that's dynamic and extensible and can work in real time with AI.
Yeah.
One of the things that you discovered back in Farmville, in the Farmville era, is that if you can get consumers to invest time to self-express, to get appreciated by others, it's magical. Mm-hmm. And that was before there was Roblox, before there was Minecraft. And I think you now believe that you can take that a whole step further with a generative AI, where you can have much more expression in less investment. Is now a good time for Nitin to get on the computer?
Sure.
Yeah, and I'll just say, we're not pitching anything. I just said to Bing, what can I deliver of value to the audience? And I thought, well, we just turned on our first game built on STEM Studio a couple of days ago, and we can give you the URL and you can load it. Do not care if you play it, it's okay. It won't hurt my feelings. We're not trying to raise money or anything. We're trying to build out this STEM Studio. We're tinkering, and we're trying to get the pieces right. But I just thought an AI conference, the most interesting thing I could show is at least what we've been building, and maybe it'll spark something for you guys. And you can get on Discord. I think the game will only be available on Discord to start with, but it's a browser-based game. But what you'll see to start with is we copied the most popular Roblox game. I did Proven Better New. It stayed religious to it. So we just copied this game, and it's a game that blew up last spring called Grow a Garden. So we copied it, but built it in STEM Studio. But then we added Create with AI. And so at the end user player level, you can start to play with AI, which I think this is table stakes. It's not like I think you should be impressed, okay? But because it's in STEM Studio, we can move very quickly. So Nitin is adding these features in like 1 to 2 days per feature, where when we were building the stuff in Unity at Zynga, that wasn't, and when we were doing web gaming with Flash, we could do that kind of thing. But we've been asleep around this for 15 years or 10 years. Everyone just got lulled into sleep. Well, it's a month to build, and release a new feature on Unity and mobile. So this is table stakes. I don't expect you to be impressed with this, but I will say that if
we are.
We are, because we know how fucking hard it's been to get to here, and we had to build so much stuff that you take for granted that's in a basic. Thank you. Yeah, it's been just the basics is a lot of work. Just to have a basic rendering engine, and it sucks we had to build this kind of commodity stuff, but we did. But now, if you click Create with AI, I don't know if you're going to show it today, but we've added a remix button, okay? And what's cool that we're going to turn on in the next week or two is that people will be able to click remix, and the idea is any game built on this engine will be instantly moddable. So depending on what level of how technical anyone is, all the way to people like me that are not technical whatsoever, you'll be able to.
But opinionated.
Very opinionated, but not technical. But you'll be able to click remix, and we'll pull up the STEM Studio, which will get easier. It'll have an AI prompt interface, and you'll be able to prompt to a whole new game. And we like to say we think we hope Roblox kids want to fuck with this and be like, I want Grow Garden to be like, zombies eating everyone's garden, or, but the idea is we want people to be able to be creative in it, but they'll also be able to just take stems that other people have made and start to just drop them in, and they'll know what to do. So they'll have behaviors, or you could reprompt them.
So give everybody a chance to express and everybody a chance to show off. So that you're mutual show-offers. It turns out that kind of works in life.
Yeah, and the idea is like everyone's like talking about vibe coding, which is still pretty much beyond me, but this will be more like vibe creation. So you could get to the point of coding, but you won't need to. And it's not like we're going to get into the game engine business or something. It's just that this doesn't exist, and we can't do what we want to do without this, and so we've just built it.
So you got two twin daughters who are freshmen in high school now, have been your inspiration for at least a dozen years. They're the source of many of your good ideas that actually stand up to test. So how are Carmen and Georgia going to use this?
Well, we have another game that we haven't turned on yet. It's a town simulator, and they're really into that. And with that, there's NPCs walking around, and you can talk to them and try and convince them to do anything and build relationships with them. But you can also kind of go edit, copy, paste, and take someone else's NPC and put it in your town and do different things. And so they're really into that. Georgia wants to create a ski town simulator. Carmen wants to create a cruise ship simulator. So
basically, for ninth grade girls, there's no challenge quite like earning your place in high school. So this is a training ground for earning your place in high school for anybody who ever knew a freshman in high school. So anything else to show here? So you don't have an animation stem right now.
Yeah.
You don't quite have a personality stem.
We do. We don't have it in the context of a game. But a couple of key things that I want to point out. Someone more wise than me said best interface is no interface. So if you look at traditional game engines, there is this big distinction between what you design and what you ship, right? So AI is not able to modify what is being rendered on the player's screen transparently. There's a lot of work that is needed to be done for that. Here, because our runtime is the browser when you're designing the game or when you're playing the game, AI modified the internals of this game right in front of your eyes without any effort. Not only created new art, it applied that art, and it is working very efficiently in front of you guys. One of the other advantages of the approach that we have taken, as Mark and I talked of earlier, is we can reuse what has been written once in a different game by just prompting AI. So though this is not a game that I'm proud to show off, but there are two games out here. One looks like a tank battler, and the other one is a third-person shooter. And underneath these both games is the exact same code. All we did was we prompted with AI to change the art and configured the parameters different. They look completely different games. What may give in is the animation that is playing just as you get into the game. But it's the exact same game, just completely looks different. So that is the true power of STEM Studio, being able to modify what is running on the fly without any effort.
Hey, Nitin, how big is the code base, the proprietary code base under this?
So we have built a lot on top of open source. Our game engine and the whole environment is touching close to around 1 million lines of code at this point. We generate a lot of code with AI. So there's a lot to that too. But we are almost hitting close to 1 million lines of code. I would say around 200,000 lines of code is proprietary and our own.
And you said open source. Is that Claude? What are you building on?
So code generation is with Claude, and art with Meshi, and reasoning infrastructure is built on OpenAI. It's a mixture of experts model, if you will, that we use behind the engine.
So your runtime cost is compute only, no inference cost?
Yes, the runtime cost is compute only, and for those emergent scenarios where we want to run LLMs, we are trying to run LLMs right inside your browser. So with the advancements of web GPU, we think we can make it happen. And the approach that we are taking of designing these DSLs, I think will make it even easier for us to make that happen.
So it's kind of a lesson for everybody here in the potential value of architecting prompt to module to end result, as opposed to trying to do a one-shot. And that was actually hard to come to grips with. I think Mark had this notion of stems maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And stems is kind of borrowed from the music business, where a stem is a little bit of music that remixers and DJs use. And it turns out that is the right architect for doing complicated apps, is prompt to an intermediate step that Mark calls stems, and then ultimately to a whole product.
Also, I just want to add, because I feel like innovation, the rate of innovation in video games, but also consumer apps, really slowed down. It didn't speed up when we went to mobile, especially on games. And it's so expensive to test something now versus when we were making this on the web and in Flash or whatever. And so part of our motivation with STEM Studio was, how do we reduce the cost of a shot on goal to be close to zero? So how do we, one of the things I said to Bing, advice I have for anyone here who is going into consumer with AI, at least consumer, is I think you should have the mantra that we have, and we had it early on with Zynga, that you want to test more ideas in a week than your industry tests in a year. And you ought to be able to find a way with AI to do that, unless your industry also finds the same way with AI to do that. But you should keep getting ahead on that, and have the velocity of testing and have a mindset that it's so extreme that again, you get past this idea that you get past your ideas, your first idea being wrong, and you assume it's wrong, but you're able to find the heat, because when you see someone else do something, you absorb that and you build it and you test it. But we got to get to the point where the incremental cost of that shot on goal is so cheap, which a lot of things about AI are making it like that. But when you get to games, especially when you get to 3D games, it's just so heavy and expensive and slow. And when you start doing it in Unity and Unreal Engine, these engines, it's just, it's so slow that it crushes innovation. And because the cost is too high to do stupid ideas. And usually the stupid ones are the ones that work.
It's like a slow and expensive compiler.
Yeah. So that was the goal with this, was, okay, can we make it so that we can test tons, and then other people, we want to put these games out as stems, and we hope other people will too, because then people can take the games, the components of the games, and start testing it and sharing it. Because right now, the Apple's app ecosystem, the game industry, everyone's pitted against each other. There is no concept of shared learning or anything like that. It's all siloed, and it's kind of intentionally so.
Another topic, so you and Reid go way back, Reid Hoffman, and you guys were co-seed investors in a company that used to be called Facebook.
Facebook.
A long time ago. And when you and Reid, like black belt karate experts, get together and talk about go-to-market, which a lot of people in these 2 days is thinking about go-to-market, you guys land on what's the unfair distribution strategy. You said you're starting at Discord right now. Discord hasn't really been a high-powered distribution platform in the past. But the distribution platforms like Roblox takes a 70% take rate.
80%.
Apple and Android are pretty slow. They all take 30%, which is not so bad, but they're slow and they got terms of service. So how do you think about distribution in the AI era?
Well, we can start with just saying distribution is fucked. It's just, which is that's its normal state of being. It's just, there's just short periods where it's unfucked, or it's not fucked. Like when the Facebook was starting and I started a social network before it, people would get an email saying Bing wants to be your friend on Tribe. And you're like, ooh, what's that? You know, you had a 50% open rate. So
For a few weeks.
no, that lasted for like a year or two. But I still managed to fail. Like, that was amazing. It was like it took real intention to fail when everything worked with the social network. But I feel like the gun hasn't really gone off yet. And I like to say we need to give ourselves permission to be too early, like, because you'd rather be too early than too late. So all in the right room. I mean, not necessarily this talk, but in the right, building, the right conference, the right body of water. But I think that one of my maxims when I was starting Zynga is still true, is like life's too short to struggle. So there's nothing heroic in the struggle. You're just charging along, nothing's working, and you're still trying the same thing. So I'd say, figure out the conditions for success. That's a lot of what Reed and I talk about first, and look at the absolute metrics, not the relative metrics of that. And Reed and I still both are looking for virality because, it's kind of crazy that we've all forgotten about virality, but we all are on our phones. We had virality when we were working off PCs that barely had network connections, and now we're on phones, like the most viral possible, communications device, and we've all kind of just given up on virality, and we all assume it's about, ads and ROAS and
I think that's because
influencers
the people who are architecting the platforms we're talking about don't have friends, and so it doesn't occur to them that they ought to connect.
They might have no friends left at this point. That's how they made it. They stepped out of it.
But the virality, the nice thing about user-generated cooperative content is you want your friends to play and you want your friends to admire you. And next thing you know, the best distribution channel is a BFF.
And I'll say one last thing as I see our seconds tick away to nothing. That I do believe deeply that everything we accept as the world today around the powers that be and the social networks, all this stuff is going to be completely flipped over. And I remember being on stages like this, and it just seemed like AOL was forever.
And Yahoo.
Yahoo was forever.
IBM.